You're going to hate me. This is my veto. We have finally got to a position group where we need a veto. And I promise it has nothing to do with how rude he was to the Irish fans and Johnny Sexton afterwards. Uh,
It
I
has
agree.
everything.
Hello and welcome to RugbyDump's series of top five players in the world. Today we are looking at the centers. And this is going to be a fun discussion. If you've watched our fly half discussion or any of other discussions, you see there's plenty of healthy debate between an English fan in Jack Tunney and a bit of a mongrel in an Irish slash South African fan in myself. So, Jack, you ready to get into it, mate?
Yeah, go on then. I will start with a non-English player. In fact, I don't have any English players in my centre pick.
First
We'll
time
go,
we've agreed.
yeah, I know I've been vetoed on any English players. Jesse Creel goes straight in. Listen, a couple of years ago, he wasn't even a South African first choice centre. So you've got to say his rise to the top of world rugby has just been phenomenal. The bloke is built like an absolute brick house. He boshes off tackles. His hands are superb, and he is one of the key players in an incredible South African Springbok side. So yeah, Jesse Kriel goes in, and he is the first one on the list.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He's obviously a twin, and his brother David, I believe it's David Creel. I could be wrong. Dan or Daniel or David Creel, one of the two. I've got to remember. He's now playing in the MLR for Seattle, but he was, growing up, the other twin was renowned as a better player, but Jesse's just gone to a whole nother level. They were both obviously brilliant underage players. Yeah, what a career renaissance! Like you said, Lucanio Am was a World Player of the Year nominee. Was arguably the best outside center in the world at the 2019 World Cup. Um, got injured. Creel, who was heavily criticized, probably no, definitely unfairly at times, um, has he looks like a guy who's gone, I'm going to play my game and what makes me a good player and not try and be someone else over the last few years. And that's really worked for him. And yeah, you got to be so happy because by all accounts, he seems like a great guy too. Any interactions you have with him as a media, he's super polite, as are all the Springbok players, actually, in fact. I couldn't agree more. I think he is at another level at the moment in terms of outside center play to anyone in the world. Yeah, right in there with that one. For the fear of it being too much of a Springbok love fest, I am going to go with his Springbok center partner, Damien Dialende, another highly underrated player outside of South Africa. But every time you hear the Springboks talk, they say he is a dog. He is a serious player. I mean, the guy is unreal. You talked about earlier when we were talking about back rows with him barging over Ben Earl. I mean, the guy does that week in, week out, and it's not an indictment on Earl that it happened to him that week. I managed to watch him play for Munster a few times. It was a real shame that he never really, I would say, probably didn't get the best Damien Dialende at Munster, due to a variety of reasons. But when it comes to pulling on that green jersey, like every other Springbok player, he goes to another level. So dynamic, so powerful. But it's his distribution that actually sets him apart for me. I think he's just such a good ball player at the line. He gets right up. They know, like, you see defenders knowing that he, like, in their mind, he's going to be a carrier. And then it's just that pulling the ball out the back just opens things up. So I think yeah, right in there. Don't know how you feel about DLND.
Yeah, I mean Ben Earl's still having nightmares about him, isn't he? So
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
he's him and Creel are the perfect centre partnership and probably the best centre partnership in the world right now.
Mhm.
Fully deserves to be in there. He's quintessential inside centre. He's got soft hands. He's a strong carrier, and he's a great leader. So yeah, Dialende goes straight in for me as well.
Yeah, nice, nice. I think this is gonna be one of these position groups where we're gonna feel like, in 2 or 3 hours, oh, why did I miss so and so? There's just so much quality in the centers at the moment. So, yeah, who you got next, mate?
Well, it'll have to be, yeah, it'd be another inside centre or an inside centre recently converted over the past couple of years, Geordie Barrett.
Hmm.
Of course, he used to play fullback for the All Blacks. Now at Leinster on a short-term contract. He's playing it inside centre, as he does for the All Blacks now. And his game has truly come on since changing positions. His playmaking abilities, a variety of passing is just terrific. as is his kicking game. And you can see what an impact he's already made for Leinster since arriving. Only a couple of games in, and his talent is already on clear display. So yeah, Geordie Barrett goes in at the as the third choice.
Yeah, can't argue. I mean, like you said with Leinster, he just upped them by 10 or 15% since he's arrived already, and he just brings that distribution element. Like you said, it's where do you play him because they've obviously got Ringrose, Henshaw, Barrett now there. They've got so many options. And then you look at fullback, they got Hugo Keenan, they got Jamie Osborne who can play in centre or fullback. But I think you're right. I think he's gonna probably just settle at 12 like he does with the All Blacks. And we spoke about utility forwards, utility backs, he would be right there at like number one on our list. But yeah, certainly one of the top centers in the world. I really, really had a hard time with my next slot, and I'm on edge here because you've obviously got the final pick, so I'm trying to pick this right. I had to get one of those three Irish players in, and I've gone with Robbie Henshaw ahead of Ringrose and ahead of Aki. I would argue that Aki is on his day slightly better 12 than Henshaw, and on his day Ringrose is slightly better 13 than Henshaw. But Henshaw's the better player out of like just across the board, and he slots between the two like nothing, which is actually a really unique skill. Anyone who's played rugby in the centers, you'll know how different it is defending 12 than it is defending 13 in particular. And just the different nuances there. So to be able to do that, I just think is phenomenal. So my final selection of the centers before you take the last slot is Robbie Henshaw.
I mean, he can slot in a fullback as well. That's another thing. And he was traditionally known as a fullback, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, you talk about nightmares after what England did to him in the build up to the World Cup in 2019. I don't think he'll want to go back there anymore, but I agree he can. That's where he came through. So, yeah. How do you feel about Robbie Henshaw then? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I actually asked him about line selection
Mhm.
after the Ireland-Argentina game. He gave me a quick smile. He's obviously pretty keen to get on that plane to Australia, and I think the form he's been in recently has been pretty terrific. So he's going to be looking to get over there with the rest of the boys, I think.
Yeah, and he's a Farrell
So yeah,
favourite.
I think he's deserving of a top five space. To be honest, I can't keep out Rico Ione. Um, he is, although many would say that he is a better winger than he is a centre, he is being primarily used as an outside centre. The very fact is, when he gets the ball, his hands on the ball, there's very few more electrifying in world rugby. I mean, if you see him breaking the line, it's 9 out of 10 chance he's racing towards that corner and he's scoring. Um, Defensively, perhaps not quite as sort of talented or reliable as the likes of Jesse Creel or even Henshaw, Dealande. But attacking wise, New Zealand's game plan really should just be get this guy's hands on the ball because he is phenomenal. So for me, I don't know what you think, but I only has to go in there for me.
You're going to hate me. This is my veto. We have finally got to a position group where we need a veto.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I promise it has nothing to do with how rude he was to the Irish fans and Johnny Sexton afterwards. Uh,
It
I
has
agree.
everything.
I agree with you. I think he's a winger on that point. I just don't rate him, which is terrible. I mean, look, I'm just a guy sat here talking about positions. He's a world-class player, but I don't think he's a top five center. I get where you're coming from on attack, but for me, when I watch Owani, there's in attack how frequently there is like handling errors and things like that with him. And I don't know whether it's a case of like you've gone when you think of the All Black centers, you've gone from Sonny Bill, Conrad Smith, and Ma Nonu in whatever combination you want there. And I don't think the All Blacks have settled on a 13 since Conrad Smith as their first choice. So for me, and I hope this doesn't ruin our friendship, I veto Rico Iwane. And I would rather put in there's a lot of options. Obviously, like I touched on all the guys before with Ringers and all that. I'm actually going to go with Tui Pelotu. I just think he's a line starter at 12, and I think he's I there was funny because on the stream the link I was watching the Champions Cup this week, they kept it playing with him talking to his teammates after a very narrow loss to Toulon, and you can see why his guys want to follow him into battle. I just think he's such a good player, and he's very similar, like I said, to Dialende with his distribution, but his skill set's off the charts for me. I mean, his grubber kicking is fantastic. His ball out the back is brilliant. His physicality, you saw him and Joseph Suaili, who we will almost certainly have on this list next year if he carries on the way he is. So that's where I'm at. I don't know how you feel about that, but I just think Tui Pilotu is such a class player, man.
Yeah, of course he's. I mean, yeah, he was on my original list anyway. And what he's done for Scotland. I mean, him outside Finn Russell is just it's just a cheat code in it. Yeah, he's been phenomenal since really cementing his place in that Scotland's side. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he is a Lion starter next year. So
Cool. I guess to round that up, do you want to rank the top five? Have you got the list there? And then we'll
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd have to put Krul at number one.
cool.
Diolende at number two.
What a turnaround, right? When you think about it. Sorry, carry
No,
on. Yeah.
I know. Barrett at number three. This is literally pretty much cover. I'd probably have Tui Pelotu at number four and then Henshaw at five. Not too much. They're very different players, Henshaw and Tui Pelotu. But I just think what Tui Pelotu brings to the game is just that pure power and sort of handling abilities that perhaps Henshaw is not known for. So yeah, Tui Pelotu takes number four with Henshaw at number five. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't have any quibbles with it. Again, it's like it's one of these groups, right? Like where we've spoken about with the back row, for example, that you could have it in any order, and you could probably change out, like we said, any of those players for a list of five or six, and you couldn't really argue either. So I'm happy with where that's fallen. So yeah, what an interesting discussion though. And for anyone watching this video, again, let us know who would be your top five centers in world rugby at the moment, and where would you rank them? Because it's an interesting debate, and it's a very live debate. And again, I think that, like we said, this time next year, how different could this list look? It could be very different. So don't forget to hit that like button. Like we said, put a comment, subscribe, and yeah, check it out. So thanks for watching this video.